Are you guys going to be able to contain yourself if we talk about the Pac-12 TV deal being down to ESPN and Amazon?
Fire and fury.
Shots fired.
Jeez.
So now
Relax.
again, and I hurt my shoulder. I actually hurt my shoulder, not patting myself on the back, but I hurt my shoulder snowboarding in Tahoe last week. And what I would say is I have two arms.
Yes.
Let me go ahead and pat myself on the back because, again, another story comes out that the bidding for Pac-12 television rights are down to ESPN and Amazon.
This is a code 10 abort.
As we've been telling you for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We told you back in August that Fox was out on Tier 1 rights. We have told you for weeks and weeks and weeks that it's ESPN and it's Amazon. And now we find out that the Pac-12 tried to shop themselves to Turner and CBS, to which they were told, thanks, appreciate the phone call, but no thanks.
Yeah.
We're not interested. It's down to ESPN and Amazon. And the real question here comes down to what we heard yesterday on the Wilner-Canzano podcast. And I think I've told you this repeatedly on the program. I am a huge Brett Yormark fan. The commissioner of the Big 12, I think, is running circles around George Kliavkoff and the Pac-12. I just think the Big 12 is shaming the Pac-12 at this point.
Yeah.
Wilner and Canzano, as usual, land a huge interview. This time it's Brett Yormark. And I think one of the things that is so interesting that he talked about is this TV deal. And we've told you on this show, I felt like it was a very smart thing to do right from the jump, right when they did it. I told you I thought that $31 million was a really good number. And I have, for a long time, been the only one getting pummeled by Utah fans who say, oh, we're getting $50 million. You know what's interesting? Brett Yormark was asked about leaving money on the table in the Big 12.
Certainly didn't leave any money on the table. As you're reading now, the media landscape's changing. The big media companies are really more focused on what they need versus what they want. I think we're reading about that every day. It's a changing landscape. When I was in Phoenix, everyone was there talking to the media partners. I mean, think about UFC being out there right now, the NBA, CFP, WWE. It's a crowded space right now. And by going early, I was able to gain the attention of arguably two of the biggest media brands in the world. And they saw our vision. They realized where we were going. They liked it and they doubled down on us. So for all the right reasons, we went early. And I think that decision today is looking even better and better as we move forward.
Oh, I agree 100%. I truly do not believe that in any way, shape, or form that they left money on the table.
Yeah.
I think the thing that he talked about there is the media landscape, the competition for those dollars. I think it is ginormous.
Yeah.
The money that was spent on the Big Ten really left the Big 12 in no position. And the thing that I think a lot of people forget is the Big 12 knew that money was going to be spent before the Big Ten ever even finalized that deal. They knew the value proposition was on their side against the Pac-12. Because the other thing you got to remember, the Big 12 is not competing with the Big 10. The Big 12 is not competing with the SEC. And the thing that I respect so much about Brett Yormark, he knows that.
Yeah.
He knows that the Big 12 is not the Big 10 or the SEC. He understands his main competitor was the Pac-12. And we've talked about that on this show. Brett Yormark, he fulfills that creed that we always talk about. You got to know who you are and you got to know where you are. And Brett Yormark is acutely aware of those two things. And it's why he was so confident in getting his group together and getting out to market early to beat the Pac-12 to a TV deal.
Facts.
Because I think we've said it a million times. The Pac-12 has no leverage because there is no appetite for their content.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest issue. And if we're really truth-telling, I've been told by sources for weeks in the TV industry that Amazon just isn't desperate to do this deal. And that's got to be terrifying if you're the Pac-12. Because guess what? ESPN, isn't desperate to do this deal.
Because it's garbage.
They just don't need it. There's no vacuum. There's no hole in the market.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue for the Pac-12 going up against ESPN and Amazon. And this is exclusively to our show. I have told you, ESPN and Amazon are not running into each other trying to get this deal done. And it has never been more evident than that statement that was released, last week, I guess it was, or maybe earlier this week by the Pac-12, where they talked about how we're unified. The Pac-12, the 10 Pac-12 universities look forward to consummating a successful media rights deal in the very near future. Well, when is that?
Congratulations, but that's
right.
bullshit.
What that is spin. Congratulations, but that's spin.
Yeah.
Right. And it went on to say, based upon positive conversations with multiple potential media rights partners over the past weeks, we remain highly confident in our future growth and success as a conference and united in our commitment to one another. Well, I mean, that's all well and good. Congratulations on that really nicely done document.
Yeah.
That graphic. But here's the truth. You're not fighting for a TV deal. You're fighting for survival.
As you can see, there's not much hope for you left.
Because I've been telling you again, not to keep tooting my own horn, but I've been telling you again, Oregon and Washington are not on board with a full-time streaming deal for Tier 1 rights.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that Oregon and Washington with the Arizona schools are not willing to sign a grant of rights for 7 years. That's $25 million per school per year.
How could you blame them?
That's what's on the table. That's what's on the table. Do you guys understand that? That right now, their best, highest value is $250 million.
Y'all feel me?
So how did the Pac-10, Pac-12 react to that? They hit the pause button on their TV deal, and they went out and started looking for expansion partners. Well, the problem is you F around and you find out. Well, they went fishing and they caught a shark who tried to eat them because San Diego State was the shark, and San Diego State said, not right now. And my sources tell me the Pac-12 went to Gonzaga and said, why don't you come join our basketball only member? Gonzaga said, yeah, not right now. And now here you are, and you don't have anybody, and you don't have anything. And so you're in this window in time now where you've said, hey, we're going to announce a TV deal very soon. And you have this statement where you say, hey, we're unified, when we've been telling you for weeks they're not unified. And this is the problem with George Kliavkoff versus Brett Yormark.
Yeah.
What do I get with Brett Yormark? And again, I'll go back to the Wilner Canzano podcast where they interviewed Brett Yormark this week. And listen to what Brett Yormark says about his relationship with George Kliavkoff.
No one's fighting. I mean, I have a great relationship with George. We have a collegial relationship. I've known George for years. I believe in this industry that you can partner with all of your colleagues and for all the right reasons. But at the same time, know that from time to time, you're going to compete. And that's the world we live in. That's the world I came from. When I was the CEO of the Brooklyn Nets, you'd be at board meetings with your contemporaries from around the league, and everyone is thinking about what's in the best interest of the sport and the NBA. And then you leave that room, and you also know that as much as you've spent 3 or 4 days thinking about what's in everyone's best interest, you are all going to compete. For players, you're going to compete in a particular market. And I use that mindset here too. I mean, I look to partner with all of my colleagues in the Power Five as often as I can, and when the opportunity exists. But there is going to be those moments when we compete.
I mean, I think that is really, really well said.
Spot on.
Right. But this is what you always say. He is so much more well-spoken than George Kliavkoff.
Yeah, I mean, every time you listen to Brett speak, you feel like he's ready to go. You feel like he's prepared. He's not even in the sense that he's got some speech written out. He just feels informed and confident and ready. I mean, that's just the best way that I can describe it. There's really no other way around it other than to say he's just ready to go whenever he needs to be ready to go. And it's funny what happens when you sound confident in what you're saying. People start believing it. And it makes sense now why they got to market early and why they got their deal done early and why all the schools fell in line. And furthermore, I'd say it makes sense, even more sense now, why this concept of Oregon and Washington not falling in line for Kliavkoff on the streaming portion, because Kliavkoff does not exude confidence. He does not make you feel as though, hey, yeah, it's going to be good. I'm going to take care of it. He doesn't make you feel that way at all. Like, it's not even a conversation. So to me, this situation is very straightforward. And I know that, there's a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of people out there that feel like, oh, the Pac's going to be fine. But I'm not really sure what the way back is, because the train that's known as San Diego State has left the station, bro. Like, even if you add San Diego State, that's not going to be good enough. That's not enough of an attraction or a hook to get someone like ESPN or to get someone like Amazon to get the job done. So that's why I say, like, this isn't really a conversation about whether George is doing a good job or not. He's not even doing a job close to what Brett's doing.
Yeah.
The conversation's more about how long is it going to be before we got to talk about the Mountain West and the Big 12 soaking up what's left of the Pac. That's the conversation.
Well, and I think there was a story that a lot of you tagged me in on Twitter about, the Big 12, SI.com had a story, that there was expansion happening. And I am told that there is no expansion in the Big 12 happening currently. And, this is, from Fan Nation. So I would tell you to be very careful with that. And SI puts that out. There is no evidence that Arizona, Arizona State, Washington, and Oregon are close to joining the Big 12. There is no evidence of that. I think it is very clear that the Big 12 would love nothing more than to add the Arizona State, Washington, and Oregon. I mean, my mom wants to add them to her conference.
What's up, big bro?
Dude, seriously, everybody wants to add them. I just don't think that it makes a lot of sense for anybody to do anything right now, right? Jam on my jelly roll. Well, I am personally.
Who the f*** is that guy?
I'm a jam guy much more than a jelly guy.
Right.
Says if the Big 12 can get the four corner teams and or Washington and Oregon, what do you think the new TV deal can climb to? $40 million per team. I don't know that it is. I don't know that it works like that. I still maintain that the best and most plausible outcome is a Big 12 Pac-12 merger of sorts.
Yeah.
And maybe the right term is a Big 12 Pac-12 hostile takeover, where the Big 12 kind of sucks up the best parts of the Pac-12. Oregon, Washington, Utah, Colorado. I mean,
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
Arizona State. I don't know how much value you put in Stanford and Cal. Like, where a large group of what's left of those 10 schools ends up in the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think that is the most likely, the most obvious, and the right path forward for these two conferences. I don't think that George Kliavkoff has earned the right to continue being a conference commissioner. I think he's completely botched this. I think I've been told so many times that George Kliavkoff is just not somebody that people in the conference trust or believe in, because he makes promises and he never keeps them. He makes the eternal sin of overpromising and under-delivering, which you just simply in business cannot do.
Right.
You, in fact, need to flip that 100% and under-promise and over-deliver. So when you tell your schools that they're going to get $50 million a year per school, that's crazy. Because that, and it was never on the table. There was never a scenario. I was told this point blank by a very high-ranking TV industry source. $50 million was never talked about, ever. They were at one point at $30 million. They then went to the conference president and said, hey, let's talk about expansion, to which USC said no thanks, and then weeks later wound up leaving with UCLA to the Big Ten. But right now, again, my sources tell me that the Big 12 is going to be in a much better position than the Pac-12, that the Pac-12 is maxed at $25 million per school per year. That's $250 million. And it's 7 years. And Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and Arizona State have refused to sign any deal like that. Frankly, Oregon and Washington, and really it's Washington kind of driving the ship. Washington's president has said, I don't believe that our best path forward is 100% streaming.
No.
That's what I was told by sources. I disagree with that, but I'm not the one who gets to make a decision.
Right.
And if Washington says we're not going into an all-streaming deal for Tier 1, that deal's dead in the water. The woman that runs Oregon, Washington, the president, is hugely influential in the conference. So if they don't want to do it, it's not getting done. And that's why, when you hear George Kliavkoff and you see these statements being released by the Pac-12 that says we're unified, show me where you're unified. Show me where everybody wanted UCLA to stay or everybody wanted UCLA to go. Mm-hmm. Because what did we get during the UCLA situation? We got back of the envelope calculations. Like, that just doesn't work.
It's not good enough.
Louis Capazzo in the Jeezy. What's up, Louis? Good to see you in St. George. Yormark has a plan. That is why he is confident. Kliavkoff is flying by the seat of his pants and starting to panic. I think George Kliavkoff always flies by the seat of his pants. I think he talks off the top of his head, which is a cardinal sin in management. You never do that. You never do that. You just can't. Let's see. Gary Saini, S-A-I-N-I. Saini?
Okay.
Pac is going to be fine. Question mark where? Question mark in the 12. I don't think the Pac-12 is going to be fine. I really don't. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Tim Bruckmiller says Tech president said Brett is looking to promote Big 12 basketball internationally for more money, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Because they're the best college basketball in the country right now. And I also think you get a lot more international players in college basketball than anybody realizes.
Yep.
So I think that's a big one. Tanner Plummer, a member of the program, says Yormark sticks to the facts. Kliavkoff sticks to the delusions of grandeur. Ooh, harsh but true. This is why the Big 12 are kicking the Pac-12's butt. I agree 100%.
100%.
100%. Jacob DeLambo, how the heck are you? The Pac needs some lower-tier schools to bolster wins to Oregon and Utah. Alabama always smashing the crap out of teams in their conference. You're not wrong, but what has this conference done for years? Sent teams like USC to Washington State on a Friday night to die.
Yeah.
It's simple philosophy, in my opinion. Dale Donut says, but wait, Kliavkoff is still shopping in the Big 12, right? Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Sam Lott says, afternoon. What's up, Sam? Good to see
Sam.
you. Purple Haze says, if the ACC dissolves, that conference would get picked apart faster than you can blink. I don't think they're going to dissolve anytime soon.
No.
I really don't. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. The Macho Man says, come on, Utah, time to leave. Nobody's buying a ticket to watch the research department do their thing. But again, I've asked 10 people this question, and everybody agrees. If Utah or any other school leaves the Pac-12, they're not losing their research money.
Yeah.
The two are completely unrelated. So I would be cool. I would be careful with that. Zanzibar says the Big 12 could take Oregon and Washington along with Colorado and Arizona to get to 16. They already have the Utah market with BYU, and with Arizona, they'd have Arizona too. But
yeah, another challenge though, right? I mean, that's a fair angle on the Utah market,
But Utah is an elite athletic department.
Yeah.
Utah is an elite football program.
But maybe that's their biggest problem. I mean, maybe them thinking, because I agree they are elite, but maybe they understand that, and maybe that's what's keeping them from being humble enough to join the Big 12.
I mean, this is frustrating to me with Utah.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm trying to find my words here on the Monty Show as we talk about Pac-12 versus Big 12 in the future. I look at this tweet from Athletic Director Harlan, and I just don't understand what Mark Harlan was thinking here. You're talking about this is from 6 weeks ago now, I think, where you have the athletic director answering a tweet from December 6th, 10 weeks ago, where John Kurz is talking about TV viewership.
Yeah.
and that the Pac-12 had a standalone game on a Friday night with playoff implications, and they were $3.5 million behind two non-OU Texas teams. And Mark Harlan's answer to that, the athletic director at Utah, was, we're not leaving.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
We're not leaving. And I want to understand the we're not leaving BS.
Yeah.
What do you mean we're not leaving?
Think about it in a business sense. Like, if you take the pride out of it, as far as like Utah and them looking down at other conferences and stuff, like if you take that part out and you just look at it from a business sense, why would you ever tweet that? Are you not at a very just baseline level? Are you not open to every opportunity that might come your way?
Well, I'm assuming that he meant Utah wasn't leaving the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that. I could be wrong. But what else could he mean? Well, I mean, what else could he be saying? What other logic is there in saying we're not leaving to bad TV numbers for the Pac-12? He could be saying the conference isn't leaving. Well, you're leaving because, guy, this literally is the band playing on the deck of the Titanic, dude.
You know,
like you've got to be smarter than this. You look at Utah football. This is the best football program, in my opinion, in the Pac-12.
100%.
And really, I think it's the best football program on the West Coast. Yesterday, I sat on the show and I gushed over the fact that Cam Rising's coming back, Brant Keithy's coming back. You're always going to have a stacked defense. Like, you have all of this to look forward to.
Yes.
Never mind that in the recent past, you've won the conference championship 2 years in a row. You competed in the Rose Bowl 2 years in a row.
Yes.
And nobody knows it. Nobody knows it. That's what's frustrating. And if Brant Keithy wasn't hurt, unfortunately, he's hurt, right? He gets hurt, he comes back. You'd have two NFL tight ends going in the first 2 rounds of the draft. 2 Utah tight ends going in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft.
100%, dude.
Because I'm telling you now, you think Dalton Kincaid's a stud. Let's not forget Brant Keithy is, I think, a wide receiver talent playing tight end. Like, the guy's unbelievable. And I think he's undervalued because of Pac-12 networks.
Well, and I think, the other point you got to make is he's playing in a defensive-minded system. He's playing at a school that with all due respect, is not some offensive juggernaut.
Yeah, I totally agree.